Hello, and welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends, brought to you by the Publicity Works Agency, devoted to promoting musicians and authors worldwide. Call us today at 941-877-1552 to start your free publicity evaluation. Remember, we shine only when we make you shine. Please welcome the host of Interviewing the Legends, music journalist, author, and entrepreneur, Ray Shasho.
We're going to do this in 3, 2, and 1. Hello once again, everyone. I'm your host, Ray Shasho, and welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends on BBS Radio, brought to you by the Publicity Works Agency. Call us today at 941-877-1552 or email us at publicityworksagency.com. Remember, we shine only when we make you shine. Bruce Sudano has had his hand in some of the 20th century's biggest hits, sung by mega talents from Michael and Jermaine Jackson to Dolly, Parton, and Donna, his late wife. At this point, he could easily rest on his musical laurels. Instead, he recorded an album about life right here, right now in the 21st century world. And he filled it with hard questions, some well-aimed finger-pointing, and poignant observations about the human experience, for better or worse. Sudano was 4 when he began making music, first on accordion, then on guitar and piano. He started getting paid 4 to 12. By the time he was 20, he had a hit, Ball of Fire, co-written with his mentor, Tommy James, who recorded it with the band the Shondells. Sudano had co-founded the band Alive N Kickin in 1968. 1970, James wrote and produced their top 10 hit, Tighter and Tighter. 5 years after leaving that band, Sudano co-founded Brooklyn Dreams. That same year, in 1977, he met Summer, who began writing with the band. They penned Take It to the Zoo for Thank God It's Friday film soundtrack. Then the band appeared as the Planotones in the film American Hot Wax. They hit number 4 with Summer duetting on Heaven Knows, and in 1979, Summer and the band wrote the number 1 pop and R&B hit Bad Girls. It became the title song to the most popular album of her career. In 1980, Sudano released his first solo album, which contained Starting Over Again, written with Summer, about his parents' divorce. Dolly Parton turned it into a number 1 country hit. 15 years later, Reba McEntire took it to number 19. 1985, Sudano co-wrote the Grammy-nominated Michael and Jermaine Jackson duet, Tell Me I'm Not Dreaming, Too Good to Be True. After years spent managing Summer's career as well as playing and singing in her band, Sudano released another solo album, Rainy Day Soul. That 2004 release gave him 3 top 10 adult contemporary hits and New Music's Weekly Adult Contemporary Artist of the Year award. It's Her Wedding Day, a track from his 3rd solo album, earned him the 2009 New Music Weekly Adult Contemporary Song of the Year award. These days, you can find him performing alongside an eclectic group of musicians, from the widely successful band Johnny Swim to the iconic British band The Zombies, or jamming with young rockers Hollis Brown. Sudano is back on the road, re-engaging with his audiences. Please welcome multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter Bruce Sudano to Interviewing the Legends. Hello, Bruce.
Hello, Ray. I don't know what to say now. You basically said everything.
We're done.
That's it.
I tell you, man, I was a big fan, a very big fan of your wife. Donna was wonderful, and I got caught up in the disco scene, I admit it, and I was a top 40 radio guy back in the late 70s, and I spun all her big hits when they first came out, so Yeah, man, we all loved her very much.
Yeah, Donna was the greatest.
She was the greatest. Yep. And and you guys had a wonderful relationship, huh?
Yes, we did. We were married for 32 years.
Wow.
We raised 3 daughters. I just, as of last week, have my 9th grandchild.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Wow. That's huge. Yeah.
But yeah, see, but I don't want to send the wrong message because I'm still very creative and still out on the road and still discovering new aspects of my career and still have things that need to be said, and so that's where we are now.
Well, let me tell you, man, I love the new singles you've just released with him and In the Garden of November, which is they're both beautiful tunes, and hats off to you on those songs.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and the next one, I'll give you the big scoop. The next one that's coming out right after the first of the year is called The Mountain.
Right.
And it's more of an up-tempo jam, and it's also a really good one.
Now, that one, is that going to come out next year?
It'll come out after the first of the year, yes.
Okay, and now this is all from an EP, right, that you're going to be releasing?
Yeah, I'm releasing 2 EPs. I'm trying to, the culture of the day is, you need to stay in people's faces. So,
yeah.
as opposed to releasing one LP with 10 songs on it or whatever, and, that being the big splash, I'm into this concept now where I'm releasing one song with a video, another song with a video, another song with a video, and with this third song, I will release the first part of the EP, which is called Story of Our Lives, Volume 1.
Right.
And then I will repeat the same concept right after that with another song with a video, another song video, and then the third song video with Stories of Our Lives, Volume 2, coming out probably sometime like June or like that. So, I keep having a story to tell, and I kind of stay in the mix.
I tell you, I love your voice. I mean, you're kind of, Brooklyn Dreams. I didn't. This is such a different style, I think, and you're approaching out of music, which I love a lot. It's really great, and your songwriting is incredible as well.
Yeah, well, Brooklyn Dreams was we were a trio,
right?
And although I was, maybe the main songwriter in that group and not the main singer,
right?
It was more R&B flavored, and of course, in that time it was the disco time, and we got pulled into that genre a little bit more, probably, but even on the Brooklyn Dreams songs, there were always 1 or 2 songs on the albums that we did that were more or less more my style than the band. But Brooklyn Dreams was known for its up-tempo, more R&B, dance kind of songs, and I certainly can write those, and I still mix them into the mix every now and then. But now, it's I'm in a phase of my career where I'm a solo artist,
right? And
I'm writing and saying the things that are pertinent to just me, and I don't have to. With Brooklyn Dreams, we were really trying to be a pop act in the moment.
Yeah.
Now I'm not playing that game anymore. I just want to write the best songs I can write and say the things time. So.
Yeah, you're a very emotional songwriter. I mean, the songs are very deep. I mean, with him, a lot of people have been there with those type of lyrics, I'm sure, and also in the Garden of November, man, they're incredible. You could be the next Dylan of our time. Who knows?
well, that's a stretch, Ray, but I appreciate the compliment.
I think it's incredible. People don't write like this anymore. And then, like you said, music today. I'm very, as an ex-DJ back in the top 40 days, I'm very disappointed with radio, terrestrial radio. Anyway, the way it's a lot of girls, girl bands and things, not bands, but girl singers.
Yeah, it's a different time, and I'm a little bit old school, so
right.
I still feel I have to write a good song, and I spent I've developed my craft to this point, and so but thank you. So
I think it was cool that you hooked up with the Zombies. I know Colin, and I've interviewed the Zombies and covered their shows and whatever. I love these guys, and I thought that was pretty cool. You went out and did some shows with them.
Yeah, no, they're great, and I actually did a UK tour a few months ago with Colin.
Right,
and it was great. We had a great time, and now in April I'm doing this on the Blue cruise.
Awesome. Yeah.
And after that I'm doing another show with the Zombies. So that friendship and that musical hookup continues, and it's really been a blessing to me because in spite of all that I've done and the length of my career,
right.
As a singer, songwriter, performer, I'm really not known. So when I open for these other bands, it really gives me an opportunity to have an audience. And what's interesting is that as I tell my story during the show, during the course of my songs, it turns out that it is very engaging for the audience, and they really like it, and so it's working. And even at this point in my career, I'm building an audience in a different way.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of success. I really do. With this,
thanks.
Yeah, it's a new age for you now. It's a new beginning, basically, like you said, which is pretty cool.
And it's really interesting to like what is success in these days in the music world.
Right.
Success for me actually is writing a great song and having somebody like you appreciate it. That's success, and going out there and singing these songs live, which brings the songs to life.
Yeah.
And to get the response of an audience, and to touch them, and to have them say, I relate to that. That was my story too.
Right.
And I've really started going out touring again on my own since Donna has passed away.
Yeah.
So that's been 7 years now.
Right.
So it's been an interesting journey, and but as I said earlier, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm having a good time, and I'm still growing. So
yeah, exactly.
Who knew?
Who knew? There's a lot of musicians, especially legendary guys, that are really trying to find themselves again. There are guys that were in bands for years, and now they're solo, and they're taking it to a whole new direction, just like you are. So it's I think it's great. Yeah.
And
you're the type of guy. You're the type of guy who can play anything and do anything, really.
Well, within reason.
Well, another guy I know who I've interviewed several times, great guy, Tommy James, and
Yes.
he's a good friend of yours as well. And you guys, he wrote a song for you. You wrote a song with him. You still talk to Tommy?
The last time I saw Tommy was about a year ago. I was playing at the Cutting Room in New York.
Yep.
And he came to the show. And, I refer to him as my mentor because, he was the first guy who really took me under his wing and involved me in the writing of a pop song, took me into a recording studio, and let me witness how, a record was made. And so it was very inspirational and foundational in my career. And he's a super talented guy.
Yep.
I think he's very underrated. And I'm forever grateful to him, so...
That's
what more can I say?
Yeah, that's another great story. How they found Hanky Panky in a bin and they started playing it and that whole thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And you guys in your band Alive N Kickin, and he wrote tighter. Great song, by the way. That's a song that goes down in 60s. History, really. I mean, every time you hear it.
Basically what happened was Alive N Kickin was the house band at this club in the city, and it was called the Cheetah.
Uh-huh.
And it was basically right around the corner from Tommy's apartment. And on breaks, in between sets, I would run over there, basically frequently with Woody Wilson, the bass player, and we would write with Tommy on the breaks.
Right.
And then, run back to the club, do the next set, and then, he was always recorded at Allegro Studio, which was on 51st Street.
Uh-huh.
And then, we started going to the studio and saw him put together these, great records, Crimson and Clover and Crystal Blue Persuasion and, like that. So, it was a great time. It was a very exciting time. And it was, for me, it was a formative time.
Were you guys supposed to get Crystal Blue Persuasion originally, and he decided to keep it?
Yeah, that's the way it went. In those days, they didn't always take a second song off an album.
Right.
But in this case, he had Crimson and Clover, and Morris Levy, the head of the company, decided that Crystal Blue Persuasion was going to be his follow-up single, and we were kind of disappointed because we were so excited to have a record deal and to actually even make a real record, and we had rehearsed the song, but then then we got the call, and Morris basically said, "Don't worry, kids, I'll have him write you another one." And sure enough, I don't exactly remember how long later, but it was a little bit of time later, maybe a couple of months later. Tommy came through with Tighter and Tighter, and we went in and cut it, and Morris was true to his word, and next thing we knew, we had a song on the radio.
Interesting character, huh, Morris Levy?
Yeah, he's infamous for sure.
Oh yeah.
But also a great guy.
Right.
A great character and a great record man. Had good ears. It's the same thing. In a different way with Casablanca and Neil Bogart. They always tend to talk about
There's a video that, I don't know, I think it was an interview or something that Frank Zappa did, and Zappa was saying the guys like Levy and the old guys chomping on cigars, those are the guys that gave you a break in the music industry, you know? And it was the guys that, the young guys who thought they knew everything, those are the guys you had to watch out for, because those are the idiots, you know, in the music industry. And he was right. He was right, you know?
Yeah.
They would take a chance on you, you know?
You know, it's certainly my story is that, you know, Morris and Neil both took a chance on me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and Neil brought us Kiss, you know? I guess he introduced the world to Kiss. And, you know.
Yeah, no, Kiss, the Village People,
yeah.
You know, and of course Donna.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like you said, those...
not your typical run-of-the-mill, you know, acts. They
Right.
were all a little bit different, and all needed to be worked a little bit differently. And you know, but he, like I said, he was a believer, and he found a way to do it. But it always comes back down to the music. So, you know, the music had to be great. You know, he had to hear a hit. And
But, yeah, well, that's it. They knew, when they heard it, they knew it was going to be a hit. You know, people can't. You know, it was. That's a gift. It really is.
Yeah, and you know, even if, but that's not to say, you know, I mean, with "Love to Love You, Baby," he found a way. You know, they wouldn't play it on the radio,
right.
And he found a way to, you know, he went to Frankie Crocker and said, "Play it all night." You know, just play it at night.
Yeah.
You know, and once that started, you know, people started listening to it, started requesting it,
Yeah.
and then before you know it, they were playing it during the day, and then it became a hit.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you know, there was always, you know, a twist.
I guess that was a little risque, you know, that song, and also Pillow Talk, you know, by Sylvia. That was another risque
Yes.
tune, you know, but,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, for those days, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I played the hell when I was in Top 40, man. I played, you know, Donna Summer was, I mean, she was coming out with hits after hits after hits, and you were a big part of that team, you know, as a songwriter, which was, you know, you guys were a fantastic duo.
Yeah, we, you know, when I met Donna, that was the first thing we started doing. You know, that was the initial inception of our relationship. Was we started writing songs together, and we had a very similar background. We had very similar likes in the acts that we liked, the influences that we had, and so when we would get together, it was very easy. And you know, and Donna was a great songwriter. You know, she had great ideas and was very lyrical and had great melodies. And you know, people don't always recognize her as the songwriter that she was,
right.
but
Right.
she was a great songwriter. And you know, co-wrote most of her hit songs.
Yeah, especially Bad Girls. I mean, that, you know, I that was probably my favorite song, just because I was in, you know, back in '79, I was working Top 40 in Annapolis, Maryland, you know, and when that song hit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Bad Girls was, you know, it was an idea that Donna had for a while, and it kind of referred to, you know, there was this issue going on. Casablanca was on Sunset Boulevard, and there was this place called the Body Shop across the way, and,
Right.
and so there were frequently ladies of the night walking up and down the street, and there was always this problem where the girls from Casablanca who worked at Casablanca would go out, and you know, people would you know, misinterpret them for ladies of the night, and so this was, you know, the initial idea, and you know, Donna kept saying, I want to write this song about this, you know, and then and initially Joe Esposito, Eddie Hoganson, and myself, who were my partners in the Brooklyn Dreams, we went into a studio with Donna, which was called Magic Wand,
right.
which was also run by another friend of ours from Brooklyn whose name was Bobby Incorbia.
Mm-hmm.
And we would just set up mics, and I play Bad Girls in my show, and what I tell the audience is that Bad Girls was a big dance hit, it was a big R&B hit, it was a big pop hit, but this is how the song was written.
Uh-huh.
It was written on an acoustic guitar,
right?
And that's kind of how we wrote it, and Donna had that idea, and Donna was a very stream of conscious songwriter. She liked to turn on the mic, turn on the tape recorder, and let's just roll and see what comes out.
Sure.
And that's kind of how it was with Bad Girls, and frequently my role in writing with Donna, when it was that kind of situation, would be to go back and kind of put the puzzle together, and where the puzzle didn't fit, find a way to make it fit, and if there was a line that was needed, find the right line. And that was kind of the case with that song. So, yeah.
Yeah, I heard you do that acoustically on YouTube, and it sounds great either way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Well, that's the other thing, is that we always would do this thing. When Donna and I were writing a song, frequently we had to write up-tempo songs.
Mm-hmm.
But what we would like to do was slow the song down and do it as a ballad. And because frequently, if you slow a song down and do it as a ballad, you can really tell, if the song is working, if the melody is strong enough, if the lyrics are strong enough. It's like putting it under a microscope. So, when you write a good song, it basically can work anyway. Any way you do it, because it's a good song, and the melody and lyric will hold up.
Now, was it you and Brooklyn Dreams who turned it into that disco, the disco beat after that, after it was on acoustic, or how did that work?
Well, it was kind of up-tempo as we wrote it. I always tell the story that back then we were listening to the Isley Brothers a lot.
Yep.
And there's also a song on the Brooklyn Dreams album that I wrote called Street Dance.
Right.
And Street Dance was, kind of a precursor to Bad Girls, in that it was a similar chord structure, and it was a blending of R&B and rock and disco.
Right.
And that's kind of how we heard it, even though we wrote it on acoustic guitar. In production, that's how we heard it.
Mm-hmm. A song you wrote too was "I'm a Rainbow." What happened with that? It wasn't released when it was supposed to be released. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the last song that Donna did. That was the last album that Donna did for Casablanca, and when the album got turned in, they weren't. And by that time, it wasn't even Casablanca anymore. Or maybe it was. I don't even remember. But the record got turned in, and they weren't happy with the album, and so it got put on the shelf and didn't get released until, I don't know, many years later.
Yeah.
But I'm a Rainbow is a song that I wrote, and I think it's one of the best songs that I've ever written. And it's really one of those songs that you write that comes out of nowhere. I just sat down at the piano.
Yeah.
And it's not a typical song for me. It's very atypical of a kind of song that I would write, but it just flowed right out of me. Mm-hmm. And
Is I'm a Rainbow? Is that in your act in your show or no?
I haven't done it yet. I typically always want to do new songs when I'm performing. So sometimes I'll do Bad Girl, sometimes I'll do Starting Over Again. But I as a songwriter, you're always in love with your newer thing.
Right.
So I haven't done I'm a Rainbow yet, but I'm sure I will do it one day.
Yeah, maybe you can revive it a little bit more, Yeah. I mean, especially if you're that proud of it. I would. Yeah. Starting Over Again. That song carried a lot of weight because you did it with Donna. I guess it was it your parents' divorce? I guess. And
my parents were getting divorced, and I started writing this song. We were living in L.A. in Hancock Park, and I had this little room in the back of the house with a bed of roads, and I was back there writing this song. And at some point, Donna stuck her head in the door, opened the door, and said, "You should put a line in that song: all the king's horses and all the king's men." And I said, "Okay." And so I finished writing the song, and it was just another song that I had written, and Donna one day was getting ready to go on the Tonight Show, to sing her new single, which I think at that time was MacArthur Park.
Okay.
And she comes to me and she says, "You know what? I'm gonna sing Starting Over Again tonight on the Tonight Show." And I was like, that's really beautiful that you want to do that, but you have a new single, and that's why you're going on the show, and blah, blah, blah. And she says, "I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway." And I'm like, "Well, why do you want to do that?" And she said, "Because maybe if I do, your parents will stay together."
Oh, how sweet is that?
Yeah, exactly. So she goes on the Tonight Show and sings Donna never actually recorded Starting Over Again.
Right.
So she goes on the Tonight Show, sings the song, and literally the next day, Dolly Parton's people call inquiring about the song, and that's how it ended up that Dolly sang the song. When I do perform that song live, I say to the audience, if any of you are songwriters out there and want to know how to get a song cut, just have your wife sing it on the Tonight Show.
That's a great story, man.
Yeah.
And Dolly it was a #1 hit for her, right?
It was a #1 country song for Dolly, yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. And then Reba did it later. She recorded it, I think, in '95 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And it didn't go to #1 again, but it did do well, and it was also the title of Reba's album.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're a great songwriter, man.
This is how things happen. You just, my philosophy is you do what you do, and keep going, and frequently you think, oh, there it is, right in front of me. This is where I'm going. This is what's going to happen, and that's not the way it happens. It comes out of left field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you have to show up and keep doing the work.
Keep doing the work, yeah. And it's very lucrative to be a songwriter. I mean, it's great to have a hit, but if you didn't write the song, it's not the same.
Yeah, well, yep, it is, especially if you're able to hold on to your publishing or have a co-publishing situation.
Exactly.
I've done a bunch of shows with Dan Navarro recently.
Yeah.
And Dan is a singer-songwriter, but he wrote a song called "We Belong" that Pat Benatar
Right.
And so he always had his songwriting share, but didn't have a publishing share until right now, because after a certain amount of years, your publishing will revert back to the songwriter. So he was just telling me recently that he was very excited because he was getting his publishing back, and that's a big deal for a songwriter.
It is a big deal, you know, and people think it's easy, but it's not. Sometimes you got to fight your way to, you know.
Well, yeah, you know, that was one of the first things that when I met Donna that I made her aware of was, you know, because of the experience that I had previously with Morris and Big Seven Publishing and that whole scenario, I had learned early on the value of publishing.
Yeah.
And so when I met Donna, she didn't have her publishing.
Right.
And I said, you know, I explained to her that she needed to get her publishing back. And because she was in such a position of power at that time, because of the great success that she was having, she was able to negotiate her publishing back. So still to this day, you know, my family enjoys the benefit of all the publishing from Donna's catalog.
That's incredible. That is so important. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
You remember when Michael Jackson bought a lot of the Beatles stuff? I mean, I was like, what?
Yeah.
But I think
I sure do.
Yeah, I think Paul got a lot of that back eventually. You know.
Yeah, I hope so.
And Tommy James, that's another story. You know, it took him a long time to get credit for a lot of stuff that I guess Morris didn't pay him for. You know.
Yeah. Morris was funny that way. You know, I remember having the top 10 song in the country, and we were touring all around, and I would basically go to Morris and say, Morris, the song is in the top 10.
Right.
We need to buy a new sound system because we're going on tour.
Yeah.
And he'd be, all right, kid, and he would basically give me $1,500 cash and send me out of his office. Till this day, I don't think I get any royalties for Tide or
really,
or I don't. And very little for Ball of Fire as well.
Really,
but those songs, I mean, Tighter I didn't write, but Ball of Fire,
right?
I never did get the publishing back for that.
Really, you got to talk to Tommy about that. Did you co-write that with Tommy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
Well, give him a call.
yeah, I will.
Definitely. And you wrote some music for Michael Jackson and Jermaine. Tell Me I'm Not Dreaming. You wrote for them?
Yeah. Well, the story on that goes like this. My friend Michael Amardian was producing Jermaine.
Right.
And he asked me, in those days, this was in the 80s, one of the best ways for a songwriter to get a cut on the album was to work with the producer, because frequently in those days, the producer was also a big part of the writing. So Michael was a friend of mine. I had worked with him on a couple of Donna's albums where I co-wrote songs. Mm-hmm. And so he invited me to come in and co-write some songs on the Jermaine album.
Right.
And I think I co-wrote 4 songs on that album. And one of them was Tell Me I'm Not Dreaming, which wasn't originally conceived as a duet. But then when Michael heard the song, he loved the song. And he asked if he could sing on it. Mm-hmm. And of course, we were like, yeah, please do. But subsequently what happened Columbia or Epic, which was Michael, I think it was Epic, was Michael's label. They said, whoa, wait a minute, you can't do that. And so they basically, put the brakes on it. So that song never really reached its full potential because, Epic put the brakes on the song. I mean, even though it did, it did do, I think it went number one in the club charts and did well on the R&B chart, but it didn't, pop-wise, it didn't go as high as it could because of that issue.
Are you still writing for other artists, or presenting them with new ideas or anything like that?
These days, I really haven't. I've really been focusing on my solo work, and that's not to say that if an artist found one of my songs or wanted to co-write, I would. But I'm really focused on what I have to say and where I want to go as a solo artist. Mm-hmm. So that hasn't happened in a while.
Right.
And I haven't even been co-writing in the last number of years as well. I lived in Nashville for a number of years.
Right.
And although, I've had great success collaborating, there came a time when I was in Nashville where I got very frustrated with it because I felt that I wasn't doing my best work because of compromises that you would have to make. And because in Nashville, they tend to, these songwriters will do 2 or 3 sessions a day.
Right.
And it takes me longer to get down to the soul of a song.
Right.
And so these days I've been writing by myself, and but if the right situation turns up, I'm sure I'd be co-writing again.
Yeah, I think you're doing the right thing. I mean, I think you're going to come up with more brilliant songwriting ideas on your own, than hanging out in Nashville.
Yeah, well, I anticipate there will come a day when I get to the end of myself.
Right.
And I've been through this cycle many times, in my career.
Yeah.
Where you kind of get to the end of yourself, and then it's good to co-write because you get a little. It opens another door. It sparks another flame. Mm-hmm. Creatively, it's a good thing to do. So, I've had a really good run these last number of years. So, so far so good. But I'm sure the day will come where I'll be like, I need some outside input here.
Right. So. Hey, that's a good title for a song. Getting to the end of myself. I like that. That's kind of
All right. There you go. Maybe the next co-write is with you.
There you go. I wanted to ask you, are you involved at all with the Donna Summer musical?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah, that's a big success, and it's actually coming to Tampa in May of next year. So I wanted to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the one who sparked that situation, and saw it through its inception, and the writing of it, and the whole thing. So dealing with Broadway and Broadway people was a whole other experience. It was a whole new experience for me.
Yeah.
Quite different than I was used to.
Right.
And there were, many compromises that I had to make that, frustrated me. But
Yeah, I'm gonna catch it.
I'm just so happy that that was able to happen. You know, another part of my life is spent in maintaining Donna's credibility and her visibility and out in the world.
Right.
And a Broadway musical was the top of my list.
Yep, I agree with you.
And it's a very difficult thing to have to pull off. Mm-hmm. And I'm just grateful that I was able to do it with the help of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And now the next thing that we're going to be doing is a documentary.
Oh man, great!
I just actually 2 days ago signed a deal with Universal.
Right.
To produce a documentary, which hopefully we're going to be starting filming in right after the first of the year.
Fantastic.
So
yeah.
And I'm hopeful with the documentary to bring another aspect of Donna, of who she was, and how she created, and how she lived, and what she believed. I think in a documentary you can go deeper than you can in a musical. The musical, has all her hits, and it basically tells her life story.
Yep.
But it can only go so deep because there's only so much time.
Right.
So with the documentary, I'm hopeful that we're going to bring another element to the Donna Summer story.
I love documentaries and bios. I mean, that's all I do. I'm on there watching all those about musicians and artists and things like that. I mean, it's wonderful.
Yep.
I love it. I do have to. I got to ask you. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I know Donna passed away with lung cancer, and I heard she didn't smoke at all. Is that true?
Yeah, she really didn't smoke. I mean, there was a moment of time in her life where, she smoked a little bit. It was a very short period of time.
Right.
So, the truth of that is nobody knows how or nobody knows why. There's no real, frequently there's no real answer for these, why you get these diseases.
Very strange.
Sometimes there are, but frequently there's not. There's no rhyme or reason. So, we really don't know.
Yeah. I know it was mentioned that she was at the 911 site at one time, and they might have thought, because people have.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
That's the hypothesis.
Right.
I've seen it out there and read it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah, who knows is right. Yeah, I know. It's very tough. My sister-in-law died of cancer. It came out of nowhere, and I'm actually waiting for results on the test for me, and I'm a little nervous.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll make you nervous.
It is making me nervous. Like you said, though, it comes out of nowhere. I mean, I'm not a smoker, so I don't know. It just happens. But here's your final question, Bruce. And I ask a lot of people the same question. I get a lot of interesting answers. If you have had a Field of Dreams wish, like the movie, to perform, collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be?
Well, my favorite songwriter is Bob Dylan.
Right.
So, whenever I get asked that question, that's my fallback answer.
Yep.
But it's really a fantasy and one of improbability. It's not one that I ever expect to happen. But if I had to have a dream of that question, that would be it. I mean, that's a short answer to
Not really. not really. Have you ever met Bob Dylan?
But have I ever what?
Have you ever met Bob Dylan?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Nope, never have. And, but, life is full of surprises, so
Exactly.
you never know.
Bruce, I want to thank you so much, man, for being on the call today. I hope to see you, back in Florida. I know you used to have a house here was it Englewood, maybe, or did you have a house in Florida?
We had a house in Minnesota Key.
Oh, Minnesota Key, yeah, not too far from me. Yeah.
Not too far from Sarasota, and we also had a place in Naples.
Oh, really?
So,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you know the area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks, Ray.
Thank you, man. Hope to see you on the road. And happy holidays to you.
Yep, and I hope everything turns out well with you.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Bruce.
Be blessed.
All right, man.
Bye-bye.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
For more information about Bruce Sudano and to purchase his new singles, visit www.brucesudano.com and also www.facebook.com/Bruce Sudano Music. Also, www.thedonnasummermusical.com to find out where the Donna Summer Musical is playing in your town. And also, Donna Summer's official site is at www.donnasummer.com. Very special thanks to Fiona Bloom for arranging this interview with Bruce Sudano, and of course, the dynamic duo of Doug and Don Newsom of BBS Radio for making the magic for each and every broadcast of Interviewing the Legends. If you have comments or suggestions for the show, contact me at interviewingthelegends@gmail.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Interviewing the Legends with Ray Shasho, for the very latest interviews. And it's real news, people. Don't forget to purchase a copy of my book entitled Check the G's, the true story of a neglected American family and their wacky family business. Available now at Amazon.com. I promise you will live it. Have a great week, everybody, and happy holidays.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to Interviewing the Legends. Brought to you by the Publicity Works Agency. Call 941-877-1552 or visit us at publicityworksagency.com, specializing in author and music artist publicity plans. We shine when we make you shine. Tune in to Interviewing the Legends every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Time on PBS Radio, Station 1.